Wonderful. Welcome to Sights in the City. I'm Aaron Mandel, Chris Vitiello. Our guest this week is Catherine Howard of Conversing Fire. She's going to tell us about the Art and Social Justice Conference that she organized, brought down Marat Dewhurst. Is that correct? That's why we were talking about Annie Hall, because apparently Marat's mother is Colleen Dewhurst of Annie Hall fame. So it's a 2.5 degrees of separation world, as it always is in Durham. It's fascinating to look over our shoulder from the 3rd or 4th floor up here of the parking garage down at Austin Lawrence Partners. And we have a great conversation about Durham's future, about how art plays into that, about how education and social justice are interlinked, and we really enjoyed it.
And about how planning can help and harm the cultural landscape at all levels. And backgrounded by the sound of planners' plans put into action, buildings coming down.
We want to build from the ground up as a community with you, rather than hear about the plan from the top down. So welcome aboard. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sights on the City with Josh Hart. We're the Clarion content. Of the city, you have to legislatively, like Seattle's done or Aspen, Colorado's done, say in these areas no chains or no buildings above a certain height or whatever it is. I guess we are live now, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Catherine Howard of Conversing Fire, amongst many other things. My astute and steadfast partner, Chris Vitiello.
Good morning.
We were talking arts. Chris indeed attended an arts conference in Raleigh last night. Catherine just organized a conference on art and social justice. And we are standing out here at what seems like the nexus of Durham development, the place where they're digging into the ground to give us the next phase. On one side, the 21C Hotel. Behind us, the base of the 26-story tower that's going to rise more than double the height of the Hill building over there.
Yes, we will be in shadow.
So hopefully we're able to give you both an interesting view and some interesting views on what's happening in Durham and what Kat just organized with her conference and what Chris just heard last night, and sort of this nexus between art and social justice and development and change and community.
So I want to hear about the Art of Rainers conference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Art of Rainers was initially created for artists who are working in social justice and who are dealing with stuff like this and not sure how to move forward, because if we work as individuals, we just lose a lot of our capacity to make anything change. So it was trying to create a critical mass of people. And it was a fabulous event. We had all-day event, speakers, food, loaf catered. It was fabulous. And we found very quickly that what we felt was missing at other conferences was the sense of collaboration. Like that when you go up, when you meet up, it's not to get competitive and who does the best projects, but what are all of our skills? And then how do we work together to create something even bigger? And I feel like that's why it had to happen in Durham, because I feel like this is the town where people do work that way on the whole. I think that's how this town runs. And the artists who attended from Queens and from Brooklyn who came down for this conference said that exactly. They said that if you had done this in New York, it would not have felt like this. It would not have felt as warm and restorative. It would have felt like kind of like a pissing match eventually.
Well, just before we clicked on the cameras, I mean, we were talking about, development and some of this top-down arts organization and whether or not that actually really reaches the ground level a lot of the time. Is it better to do a big $3 million glittering project, or is it, better to do $16,000, $50,000 projects, and how that plays out. So how did the conference come together? I mean, how did you meet this woman and what happened? I know we wrote about it a little on the Clarion, but...
So I actually met Marit because a friend connected us. So I have a friend who works at Art 21, And he and I were catching up after not having seen each other for several years and just chatting on the phone. I was telling him about what I've been working on, organizing artists here, working on Conversing Fire, so actually helping support artists in what they're doing to be big activists in their community through their artwork.
Long-term context, Chris and I both know that Catherine has been after this for years in terms of pulling together artistic communities, traveled around the world to do it, has made effort in Durham, has been in New York, has been, worked for the Durham Arts Council, been on a part of the original Durham Storefront Project organization, right? So
and on the Save the Liberty Warehouse Commission. So,
I didn't realize that.
Yes, I was one of the few.
Nice work.
Yeah, we failed, but it was an effort. It was an effort.
Work.
Yeah, another big development that's happening right now that tore down a building.
Yeah. Point the camera in any direction. You can see Scott Howell's Church in Maine from here, the Deepak Hotel on the other side over there. The Mutual Hotel. Oh wait, they're calling it the Hotel Durham because it's going to be our living room right over there. And
God.
Beyond that, Liberty Warehouse is condos. So
yeah, it's going to be. When they let me watch Netflix at 3 a.m. in their lobby, then it'll be the Durham's living room.
That's fair.
Okay, yeah.
I think Coco Cinnamon already has a stake as Durham's living room,
Yeah,
or
that's
possibly
fair.
Mercury, American
Get in there
Underground,
early.
a few other places.
But again, things developed really low budget from beginning really, really tiny in the community, supported by the community as a whole to get to where it is. It didn't just get plopped down where it is. It had to build really slowly. Mercury had to move multiple times.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
And
anyway.
be supported. So you're in that kind of psychology. You are that kind of person, and you're getting ready to tell us the story in New York of how you and Marat met through a friend.
Marat, yeah.
Marat?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good. Marat and I only met in October of last year. So we had never set eyes on each other before the conference day. And
Wow.
Yeah, and never
cool.
seen each other.
Yeah.
We just, so Joe put us in touch. I just gave her a phone call because I was a fangirl because I'd read her book and I was really excited, and gave her a call. We chatted for 20 minutes. She told me about what she's doing in New York. She's the director of art education at City College.
CCNY.
Yeah, she's big. She's big time.
Only a few hundred Nobel Prize winners from there, over the years.
Yes, and so she's been doing, and she worked at MoMA for a long time doing the arts education there. Ran a free program for teens out of MoMA. She's
Awesome.
crazy and amazing. So she and I just had a quick 20-minute phone conversation. She's been feeling like she doesn't have a lot of community up in New York because of that competition. And
the my win is your loss as
Exactly.
opposed to my win is your win.
Exactly, yes. And she just had a child. So, in New York especially, that just immediately negates your view as being able to be revolutionary. It's like, oh, you have children. You just oh, you're
sad?
you just
sad.
don't get it anymore.
There should be nowhere in the world where motherhood negates your ability to be a revolutionary.
Right.
There's no more revolutionary act than to have children, frankly.
Exactly. And if
know?
you're ever going to have a good revolution, it has to be nonviolent. So who's going to be behind that more than
Mamas.
mothers and their children?
Mamas.
Right?
Yeah, so she's incredible. Her daughter has gone with her to 20 conferences since she was born. The baby is a year old. And they have gone
Josh Hart nodding
to
behind the camera as he brings
This
his daughter
baby,
to all
everything.
kinds of shoots.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
just
that's great.
bring them along.
So is her daughter on the panel discussions now?
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
it's like-
She was
Wait
in
till
there.
she's 10 and she has tons of background and
Yeah.
the ability to weigh in.
She's
like,
gonna be
a PhD
starting her
candidate.
second nonprofit at age 10.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that billboard though out on 85.
Yeah, I've
you
noticed that,
drive
too.
by that. This kid's
It's affected my mind
It's a
a
good
little
one.
bit.
It's a
Yeah,
good one.
definitely 20,000 people learn to read from a kid who started a nonprofit at 8.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
rockin'.
we repeatedly undervalue the imagination of young people, and it goes back to this conversation about top down.
Mm-hmm.
When people tell us how to do it, the implementation is different than when
Yeah.
we evolve our vision collectively.
Yeah.
So you and Marat are on this Marat
Marat.
are on
Close.
this. Everyone knows I'm a name murderer.
Not the painting of the dead guy in the bathtub.
No, that's
No.
a good one. That's a
Yes.
good one. Yeah.
But so you're on this same page,
Yeah.
you have a conversation, and you get, it's a bold vision to think that you can invite, CCNY's, and this MoMA person down here and just go for it, Catherine Howard.
Well, it started because I decided, I wanted to bring a contingency of Durham people up to whatever book talk she was going to give. Because I knew she had just, Harvard Education Press published her book. and they only sent her to
What's the book called? And just tell people briefly what it's
so
about
the book
if they haven't read our article.
The book is called Social Justice Art. Like, very simple title. And so it's about pedagogy and how to teach arts activism to children and teens. And how to, like, encourage them, like what you were saying, to think big and broad and to feel like they have the power to make changes in their community. So anyway, so I was going to bring a group of artists up to New York to go to a talk, and she was like, well, actually, they haven't really supported me in doing a talk. And I was like, shit. I was like, well, you want to come here?
Yeah, easier.
I was like, just come on down. You know? It's like, come on down.
Well
I was like, I'll put it together a conference for you. And she was like, okay. And so within 20 minutes, we talked for 20 minutes, and we decided to do a conference together.
Well, what are some of the takeaways from the conference? I mean, at the end of the day, what were you seeing?
At the end,
that's really kind of coming out of the messages from a day of conversation together.
Honestly, the need for collaboration so we can do bigger stuff. Just like it became very clear how burnt out we get so quickly by trying to do big work and hold a lot of change in ourselves, like trying to see forward, still see where we are, how do we get there, what can I do that's unique to get us there? So it's just a lot to be holding in your own brain, and when you start to work collectively, there's just so much more possibility.
So, I mean, any thoughts on how you facilitate those collaborations,
So that's actually my next step as a coordinator. Is I'm wanting to build actually a database of artists who attended the conference, contact information, what they do, what they want to collaborate on, and have it be password protected. So like everybody's protected, and we can have this like really yummy little space to coordinate online. That's separate from social media, because I do find that when you get social media groups together, you just get distracted. It's hard to feel like it's a protected space where you can really stew in something and not feel like it's publicized.
And we've seen some good little steps of interdependence like that. I mean, I think co-working is part and parcel of that idea.
Absolutely.
That says, here are a bunch of like-minded people who are working on different things, but occasionally can be like, oh, I need a graphic designer. I need someone, to help me with this little bit on my website. Or,
agree.
and also just to brainstorm in a free, safe space. And some of the small stuff that comes out of that, like American Underground does those weekly working groups or help groups. I forget exactly what they call them, but it's like they just have someone from there or from the outside come in and talk about a topic that may be of relevance to people who co-work there.
But I do find that co-working, you end up being self-selected. You're people who have the capacity to co-work in a space, and you miss out on this huge demographic of people like academics who are stuck. And half of the attendees were academics who are feeling isolated and like they're left out of what's happening.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's great. If
It's
they
not
want to
wonderful
get out
that
of
they're
the
feeling isolated,
but if they want to get out of it.
But yeah, I mean, I have a bit of a prejudice sometimes against academics because they all seem so comfortable,
But they're unhappy, and I think that's again why Marit came down. Is she's an academic. She feels like she has these broad visions, has no one who's going to support her, has all this bureaucratic bullshit in the way. How's she going to do what she wants to do? She needs to connect to people like us who just don't give a shit and are going to do it anyway.
What do you think, having been in the Durham Arts Council, done the Durham Storefront Project, done a lot of your own fundraising, what do you think of the level of bureaucratic bullshit in Durham insofar as getting in the way of arts projects? I mean, are you hopeful because we have all of these things that are going well? Are you frustrated? What's your experience been like? And maybe you should bellow it because it sounds like there's a train coming our way.
Durham is being deconstructed.
Yes. I'm going to just wait.
It's the Amtrak. It won't take long. We do want to say, on a sad note, I saw yesterday the Carolinian had an accident, that very train.
No way.
Yeah, hit a tractor trailer, south of here, causing a derailment. Fortunately, no one was killed, but 56 people were injured. And I thought to myself, holy shit, I have had so many friends and family who ride that train. Allie Mullen told me that the very first time she rode it, it had an accident in which 2 people were killed. And
what?
I know. Rodney Derrick's been after me forever about train safety. It's like his new current pet peeve. But
yes.
I mean, it would be very important, train safety. I don't want any oil fuel cars coming through here, you know, on a 100-year-old track, and suddenly we have the Quebec situation.
That's interesting.
And that's actually how people were coming down for the conference, was taking the train. Because
sure, the Carolinian from Penn Station, I take it to Jersey and New York myself.
Yeah, flights have become bonkers, actually, between here and New York. It's like $500-600 round trip nowadays.
Oh, and airport security is so annoying and so time-consuming, and the parking, like the train, it's right by the West End Wine Bar.
Yeah,
it takes like 30 seconds to get on a train.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, speaking of the train and tooling through downtown, I mean, I've heard sort of mild conversation here and there about, you know, the idea that we see the train tracks through downtown now as a barrier to pedestrian connections between north of the tracks and south of the tracks, and we want to fill that in. There's been talk of development projects that could possibly be done, like raising the train up and having retail office underneath the tracks and things like that. I have also seen one crazy conceptual drawing. Anybody know anything more about that? Is that a serious conversation, or is that just...
It is. It's a serious... but it's also been a conversation that's been had for like 10 years.
Or longer.
Yeah. It's just been...
I didn't realize that. That was really new.
No. It's been around for 10 years.
The long-term traffic plan calls for Mangums and Roxborough to become two-way streets.
Yeah.
And whichever one goes under the tracks now, the other one is also supposed to go under the tracks as well in the long-term plan. But that was like it's like a finish 540. Scale of plan. And you know, from New York, like they told us they were going to finish Route 287 you know, when I was like 11, and they finished it when I was like 34.
And this speaks back to the top down, the difficulty with top down. It's like whenever a municipality makes a capital investment or an infrastructure investment, it has to be on the biggest possible scale. They can't just tweak here. They can't just do that one thing right there. Let's get it quick up and running. The agility just isn't there. But what happens is when you get involved in like Marat. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got the pronunciation right. Bing. Is she getting frustrated with being part of an organization that's become inflexible and feeling trapped in there? I mean, individuals can move quickly like that and make those changes. You get the idea on Monday and start, doing the work on Friday, and that's an organization can't do that.
Durham in that way. Before the train came through, you were going to tell us some about individuals and groups and what you think. I mean, Chris, you're both expert. I mean,
I think that this town has attracted individuals who are really passionate and capable of doing big stuff because it felt like everybody was looking the other way. So I feel like now that attention is turning around and people are starting to look at them, it's like there's a little bit of gun shyness and kind of like, oh, but I don't want to have to explain to you or talk to you about what I'm doing because I was doing this in quiet before. Right. That's why I ended up here.
Right. Like if somebody asked you if you could do the Carrack now, the answer would probably be hell no.
Yeah.
But because you could do the Carrack because it was next to a burned out building on Paris Street and Loaf wasn't even there yet, it was fine.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting perspective.
So the last night I was in Raleigh for the big kickoff of the Raleigh City Arts Plan, which I'm not going to allow facetious tones to sneak into my voice, because it's an unknown quantity at this point. They're doing their due diligence, and the week before I was at a community meeting at Neil Pruitt's apartment, an artist who lives in Raleigh, and we sat around and talked about all the good stuff. It was a bunch of artists and cultural producers as individuals. Talking about what their needs are. We talked about cheap, flexible space and how development was pushing people around, and it's hard to do your work. It's hard to have enough time to do your work, yada, yada, yada. Last night was the exact opposite. It was the heads of the big organizations like North Carolina Symphony, the mayor of Raleigh, Mayor McFarland was there speaking. So it wasn't black tie, but it was suit and tie type of meeting. And it was really interesting to hear them talking about the scope and scale of what they wanted to accomplish. it made me think about how planning rolls over and becomes a real negative. I mean, this was a room full of planners. And so they wanted to plan big. They wanted to do something impressive. And so they were actually kind of not paying attention anymore to who they were doing who they're actually planning for. You know, they want, and this is their phrase, they want to turn Raleigh into the southern capital of arts and culture. That's their phrase, all capital letters, initial caps, Southern Capital of Arts and Culture. So they've already printed up the banners they're going to hang on the lampposts that say Raleigh, Southern Capital of Arts and Culture, I would think. I mean, and that's where I tend to, want to make a raspberry when I hear something like that. It's like, hey dudes, what you're doing is you're reacting to the fact that a bunch of people on a small scale have accomplished a ton of stuff on their own.
Yeah. Not with your help.
And so now you're like, boy, if only we could come in and plan all this.
Right.
What?
Right.
We did it without that.
Right. Couldn't you come in and organically support it? If you have as much money as the plan, sounds like you have, something that may have some parallels in Durham, where can that funding actually go that's more ground level to people who are closer to the problems, that can see more of what's going on? Mm-hmm. And maybe that's a good place to end it for now, we'd love to hear your solutions, Durham. We'd love to hear your suggestions. Cool. Kat Howard on Conversing Fire is always about, promulgating the conversation. You want to give them a little bit of your social media details and how to find you if someone wants to be involved or wants to be part of the conversation?
Absolutely. So the easiest way to find me is just to Google Conversing Fire. I'm the only thing out there. And you'll find social media and how to get on my website and sign up for my email list, definitely, because I do send out stuff every month with events going on and blog posts and stuff I'm writing for Clarion. And
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate having you. It's been interesting filming over this and having this conversation.
For sure.
Check Chris out on Twitter at Chris Vitiello, Vitiello. That's right. Follow the Clarion content on Twitter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Man Behind the Camera, Josh Hart, Hardt.
Good man.
Also at Made with Hart on Twitter and on the internet, an amazing director-producer. Thanks a lot, Kat. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Let's talk about stuff going on in Durham into the weekend. One thing I'm excited about, because I saw Vector perform their show Habitus at the Cordoba Center last weekend. It concludes this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock at the Cordoba Center. That's where it's the building that the old scrap exchange was in, behind Golden Belt, if you don't know the Cordoba Center. This is a terrific performance. It's a dance theater.
Don't miss.
Vector
is the kind of thing that you will not see again in a similar way in a similar venue.
Vector is John Haas and Leah Wilkes. There are all sorts of terrific local performers are in this show. It is performed not on a stage but in a boxing ring, and the performance is about an hour long. It really addresses issues of anger recovery, sorting through anger in your personality, in your life, and it's kind of this great episodic performance. I'll be doing the talk back after the final performance on Saturday the 14th. Support local dance makers and visual artists, and come see Vector. It's a terrific show. Habitus, name of the show.
Sweet. So that's Saturday the 14th, Sunday the 15th at the Pinhook, a Durham insider tip. I'll have to check my dirty little notes to remember his name, but Will Butler from Arcade Fire is going to be playing some of his solo stuff, which is not something that people have heard very much before. Monday the 16th at Motorco, the pop-up chorus, always a great time, wildly exciting. I just heard they're doing a collaboration with a famous Irish folk singer, Katie DeCanto was telling me. And then Wednesday at the Motorco, stand-up comedy from Todd Barry, not a name that rings tons of bells with me, but he's been on the Chappelle Show and Louis and has all kinds of Sex in the City, all kinds of great credentials. I'm hearing he's a really funny dude and he's coming to Durham.
I didn't know we could go into next week. Can I dump some more stuff on the calendar? Excellent, let's do it. Well, first of all, Sunday night, there's an interesting show at the Nelson Music Room at Duke. It's a free show, and experimental pianist Andrew Lee is in town to do several shows. This is part of the, sort of under the auspices of the experimental music study group that Will Robin has put together. Get up on their Facebook page and get involved, get aware of their events. They're doing some interesting programming, and a lot of it is house shows, living room shows, shows at bars. So it's small scale, but really terrific music that you're not going to see at larger venues.
And if you haven't seen the Nelson Music Room previously as a venue, it is just fantastic, really cool, worth seeing.
Yeah, great acoustic room actually, and pretty cool looking. But then other stuff next week, a really terrific show, the old Center Gallery in Durham, which closed I think in the 80s. It was sort of a feminist space. A lot of those artists still live here. They are doing a show at the Carrick that opens on Tuesday the 17th and runs for 2 weeks. This is a don't miss show. Really terrific sort of career artists, and I think it's an opportunity for current young artists in Durham to really look back into Durham's past and understand the kind of work that was happening here that really set up some of the rejuvenation that we're seeing now. And then I'm really excited because Thursday the 19th there's a poet, Rachel Levitsky, who's going to be in town at Duke to do a reading. This is still in formation, but I think it's a sort of noon event, so you might have to skip out on a couple hours of work. And then Thursday the 19th, Thursday night, the Exposed film series. If you're not up on that, you need to get up on that. This is about like number 12 or 13 for them. It's hosted at the Pit over by Motorco and Coco Cinnamon, and Sabine Grafat is going to be screening some of her work. Again, something that I wouldn't dare miss because her work is really fantastic. She just had a show at Flanders in Raleigh. It was actually a sort of opening show for their new space next to Lump. If you saw some of Sabine's work there, you want to come to Exposed and get to meet her and hear her talk about her work too. Thursday the 19th, 7 p.m. The Pit, Exposed film series.
So a fantastic week of events ahead. Thanks so much to Josh Hart for filming behind that camera, Catherine Howard of Conversing Fire for coming on, talking to us about art and social justice, and to Durham for providing the backdrop. We're grateful to curate your city, Durham. Chris Vitiello.
Aaron Mandel.